Hello and welcome to my show. Katriona Taylor here with the sexiest jazz music. Anything that grooves, anything with soul, you're going to hear it here.
I'm attracted to you, baby.
Later on in the show today, my interview with the one and only jazz guitar virtuoso, Jim Mullen. He's been telling me what it's like to have a career spanning decades, back in the day in the 60s and 70s, with all those fabulous people he worked with. Speaking of the 60s, the first song here is from Mel Torme, an all-time classic, Coming Home, Baby.
I'm coming home, baby, now. I'm coming home now, right away. I'm coming home, baby, now. I'm sorry now I ever went away. Every night and day I go and stay. I'm coming home, baby.
Come on home.
Coming home, baby, now.
You know I'm waiting here for you.
I'm coming home now real soon.
You've been gone.
Coming home, baby, now.
You don't know what I'm going through.
I'm coming home, I know I'm overdue.
Since you went away.
Expect me any day now real soon. I'm coming home.
Come on home.
Coming home, baby, now.
You know I'm praying every night.
And everything is gonna be fine.
Please come on.
Coming home, baby, now.
I want to feel you hold me tight.
Expect to see me now anytime.
When I'm in your arms.
You're in my arms, I'll be fine. I'm coming home.
Come on home.
I'm coming home, baby, now.
You know I'm counting every day.
I'm coming home now, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Use your phone.
I'm coming home, baby, now.
And baby, let me hear you say.
I'm coming home, you hearing what I say.
That you're coming home.
And I never will go away. I'm coming home. I'm coming home, baby, now.
You know I'm waiting at the door.
They can't hold me back now, no more.
All alone.
I'm pressing on, baby, now.
And pacing up and down the floor.
Oh, hear me holler and hear me roar.
Say you'll be with me.
Gonna be with you evermore. I'm coming home.
Come on home.
I'm coming home, baby, now.
Oh, baby, say you're coming home.
That's what I say I'm coming home.
Something's wrong.
The road is long, baby, now.
You ought to either ride or phone.
I'm coming home and never more to roam.
Baby, tell me you.
Baby, I'm for sure coming home. I'm coming home.
Come on home.
I'm coming home, baby, now.
Come on home.
I'm coming home, baby, now.
Mel Torme there. What an old smoothie. And sounding as groovy as ever, nearly 50 years after that song was recorded. This next track is from Leah Delaria, a lady who's been making quite a name for herself, not only on the UK scene, but internationally. And those of you who've seen her live will know she's quite an experience. This one is from Wild Party, the Broadway musical, a great arrangement of Welcome to My Party with a storming band behind her.
Welcome to my party, glad you stumbled in. Welcome to my party, baby, where's the ice? Who here's up for dancing? Who here's new? Welcome to my party. Who the hell invited you? You're here because you love me. Don't I know it? Yeah, I know you're here because you love me. Cause the booze is cheap and the low down low. Welcome to my party, you know what I need. Queenie's up for jazz and Queenie's up for anything tonight. I gotta get my engine smoking. I need it bad, God, I need it more. I need a lot of friendly stroking. Cause there ain't no heaven and there ain't no hell, no turning back. Get it like the door.
Let's change the mood now with a song from me. I wrote this bluesy number for the album Precious Time, released in 2008.
Oh, how many times is he gonna hurt me before I walk away? Oh, how many wounds is he gonna leave to heal before I am whole again? What is the bitter end? Whoa, how many nights is he gonna leave me all alone? Whoa, how many dreams will he shatter before he is gone? He is gone. He wants to love me, wants to charm me and disarm me. Oh, he wants to hold me, wants to tame me and to blame me. But oh yeah, it's the bitter end. It's the bitter end. Whoa, how many nights is he gonna leave me all alone? Whoa, how many dreams will he shatter before he is gone? He is gone. He wants to love me, wants to charm me and disarm me. Oh, he wants to hold me, wants to tame me and to blame me. But oh yeah, it's the bitter end. It's the bitter end. It's the bitter end. It's the bitter end.
Ah, those breakups. Always good material for a song. If you'd like to hear more from Precious Time, check out my website, katriona.taylor.com. The Hayu Percussion Group was formed out of the Harlem Youth Act in 1967. They did a series of recordings for ESP Records under the direction of their teacher, Montego Joe, who brought them all together. This track has great energy. It's called Welcome to the Party, and it's as musically fresh and relevant as the day it was produced. It just makes you want to dance and move your body. Some great energy and Afro-Cuban rhythms from the Ha-You percussion group, re-released just last year. Fantastic. A track now from Sergio Mendes' album Encanto, a beautiful song he wrote called Dreamer, featuring Herb Alpert and his wife, the original Brazil 66 singer Lani Hall.
Why are my eyes always full of this vision of you? Why do I dream silly dreams that will never come true? I want to show you the stars caught in the dark of the sea. I want to speak of my love, but he won't come to me. So I go on asking if someday you will care. I tell my sad little dreams to the soft evening air. I'm quite hopeless, it seems. Two things I know how to do. One is to dream, two is loving you.
sonhando, sonhando 1000 horas sem fim. Tempo em que vou perguntando se gosta de mim.
I want to show you the stars caught in the dark of the sea.
Falar do amor que se tem, mas você não vem, não vem.
So I go on asking if someday you will care. I tell my sad little dreams to the soft evening air. Oh, I'm quite hopeless it seems. 2 things I know how to do. 1 is to dream, 2 is loving you.
I just love that melody from the brilliant Sergio Mendes. R&B soul singer Esther Phillips was nominated for a Grammy Award for her performance of this next song. Gil Scott-Heron's Home Is Where the Hatred Is. In 1972, she recorded it for Kudu Records. Gil Scott-Heron was a famous American poet and musician and author, a political commentator on his times. And this song is about the hopelessness of the ghetto and that environment. And I'll tell you a little story about how that Grammy nomination went for Esther Phillips after this.
Junkie walking through the twilight, I'm on my way home. I left 3 days ago, but no one seems to know I'm gone. Home is where the hatred is. Home is filled with pain, and it may not be such a bad idea if I never went home again. Stand as far away from me as you can and ask me why. Hang on to your rosary beads, close your eyes, watch me die. You keep saying kick it, quit it, Lord, but did you ever try to turn your sick soul inside out so that the world can watch you die? Home is where I live inside white powder dreams. Home was once an empty vacuum that's filled now with my silent screams. Home is where the needle marks try to heal my broken heart. It might not be such a bad idea if I never went home again. Stand as far away from me as you can and ask me why. Hang on to your rosary beads, close your eyes, watch me die. You keep saying kick it, quit it, Lord, but did you ever try to turn your sick soul inside out so that the world can watch you die?
That was the great Esther Phillips with Home Is Where the Hatred Is. I said before that Esther had been nominated for a Grammy Award for that song. However, she lost out to Aretha Franklin on the night. But at the ceremony, Aretha remarkably handed the trophy to Phillips, saying she should have won it instead. My shows here on UK Jazz Radio feature interviews with top jazz personalities, and now I'd like to invite you to join me on the sofa with jazz guitar legend Jim Mullen, and he's a bit of a charmer. So, Jim, you've just celebrated your 65th birthday.
Yeah.
Many congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And you've had a very extensive and successful career in the business, still regarded as one of the UK's best guitarists. Tell us about how you got into this business.
Oh God, how long have you got? I started in Scotland as a kid, just fooling around with guitars, And an older friend, I think I was about 9 or 10 at this time, I had an older friend who was a teenager, and he actually had a jazz guitar, what's called an archtop. And I used to go up and knock on his door and ask him if I could look at it. I never had the nerve to ask if I could play it, but he had a whole bunch of American jazz records, and I'd never heard any of it, but he slowly started introducing me to this music, and something clicked, and I just became kind of obsessed.
Were you attracted straight away to the guitar? Was that you knew that was your instrument?
It was. I guess I was part of that generation post-war. I was a war baby, born after World War II, and what was happening was that houses were changing from having the parlour piano to there being a guitar. It was simply smaller and cheaper and easier to drag up the stairs, if you like.
You developed this incredible style of playing only with your thumb. Is that something which you started very young?
Oh yeah, that was just all bad habits. I mean, because there were no teachers around to say don't do that. First of all, I'm left-handed, but I play right-handed, and I also play with my thumb because I could just never keep hold of a pick. And I had no technique anyway, so I just got tired of looking for it when it fell out of my hands. I just carried on, and it was a bad habit that didn't get fixed, and it's too late now to do anything about it. But it raises questions about why you play. I mean, I think the technique must always be secondary to the reason that you play. So although I play in what is not a practical style of playing the guitar, because you're limited to only downstrokes, so I have 50% of the technique of a pick player, but I've found ways of kind of compensating, doing a lot of left-hand hammer-ons and pull-offs and things like that. So the music was more important to me than the technique.
So you came down to London in the 60s.
Yep. When I moved down here, it's more or less when I turned pro.
Right.
I mean, I was a journalist actually in Glasgow, and I came down here in '69, having quit my job.
And then you got into Kokomo, which took you on a tour in the US with Earth, Wind and Fire.
That's right, yeah.
Your path has crossed some incredible musicians,
I
think,
I was very fortunate. I also worked with Brian Auger, who got me into the European scene, and Pete Brown, which was the very first group that I joined when I came down here, and he'd just had all the success with the Cream. But really, at that time, I wasn't really playing jazz because it was really impossible to make a living playing jazz then. So I was playing either in rock bands or in fusion groups.
Right.
Kokomo coming into that last category. And then when I left Kokomo, was really the start of the kind of Morrissey Mullen thing,
So when you first met Dick, I mean, did you kind of know this was going to be somebody you'd partner for the next 15, 16 years? Was there a chemistry between you?
Well, there was, absolutely. I mean, I knew of Dick. I mean, he already had a big reputation. And we met, and he more or less read my mind. We wanted to make music that was kind of accessible, that was happy, that was a more blowing kind of thing. And he talked about the Crusaders, who were very big at that time. This is mid-70s. Yeah. So we kind of realised, and we got together and we started kind of working out some tunes. Dick had some tunes, I had some tunes, and we made like an album's worth of music. And then we went over to New York and we did it with the Average White Band, you know. And everybody was really welcoming, I mean, there was no kind of like, what are you guys doing here? We've got plenty of good musicians. It was like, where are you from? Great, man, I really like your playing. And people were very encouraging, and that was a nice feeling.
What was the pinnacle with Morrissey Mullen in those days? What really sticks in your mind as being the good times?
Well, I mean, we played at the first Nebworth Jazz Festival, I think, and opposite the Brecker Brothers and, Ray Charles and all kinds of famous people, Benny Goodman. And that was exciting, to play to a huge crowd, We had so many good times, we used to play at Ronnie's opposite such great musicians.
So is there one particular track that you'd like to play us? If you had to pick one out, what would it be?
Well, there's a lot of good ones actually, but I was going to suggest to take the song that Dick wrote, which is called Dragonfly. And I remember we were playing this tune before I had a title. Dick was terrible at coming up with titles, you know. And we played this tune at a pub gig somewhere in London, and Dick said, if anybody can think of a good title for this, I'll buy them a pint of Guinness. You know. And this little sort of African guy came up at the end and said to Dick, you should call it Dragonfly. Dick said, that's great. So he went away, he says, where's my pint of Guinness? So Dick took him to the bar and bought him his pint of Guinness, and he went away quite happy.
How did the writing process work for you guys? Did you do it sort of together, or?
No, actually, I'm without meaning to boast, I did the lion's share of the writing for the band. Dick would really come up with maybe one song for an album, each album. And of course there's pressure on you when you're doing those things. They want original material. They don't just want you to be covering somebody else's stuff. So but it was a really fun band, and there was a lot of great players in it, and that kind of inspires you to write for these guys, you know.
I think I saw that Luther Vandross was singing on your first album.
That's right, yeah.
He's obviously gone on to be one of the greatest.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that was the great thing about New York. I mean, you can call anyone. Now, at that time, I was working with Herbie Mann, the flute player. I was part of his band, and he was also the executive producer of this album. And he said, look, this is a really nice record, but if you want daytime radio play, you got to get some vocals on it. I said, well, how do we do that? It's an instrumental album. He says, no, I'll call these people, they'll come in and they'll do some vocal hooks. So who did he call? Cissy Houston, Whitney's mum, who's a fantastic singer, who's still singing actually. Luther Vandross, who was a session singer at that time, although I think he'd had a hit with The Wiz. I remember they all came into the studio, and they were all very large people, and they were munching on triple Big Macs and huge milkshakes, and they just came up with these fantastic improvised lines over the kind of riff of this song, you know, and they would harmonise it, and I was sitting there with my mouth open, just amazed at how naturally these people were able to come up with great ideas, all while munching on Big Macs and sort of triple milkshakes. It makes you much better
singer, you know.
Does it?
So moving on to periods like in the 90s, you were playing with other artists, guesting on a lot of albums, including working with Claire Martin.
That's right. I've known Claire for over 20 years. I mean, she's almost like a daughter to me, you know. And I've always been a big fan of singers, you know. I was able to turn her on to some singers who have now become kind of very iconic for her, people like Shirley Horn. In fact, she did a tribute album to Shirley Horn recently, you know. But no, it's been fascinating for me to watch Claire develop, you know, from starting out to writing and performing. And in fact, I'm doing a gig with her tomorrow in Brighton. And she's a fantastic artist now who really knows what she's doing, and she's a musician, singer. I mean, she sings in a lot of unusual time signatures. You know, she's a joy to work with and to listen to.
If you were going to pick a song that you worked on with Claire, do you have one in mind that you could play for us today?
Yes, there's a song called "Everything Must Change." Which is something that I recorded with Dick on our very first album in New York in '75, and it's something that I've kept kind of coming back to. In fact, Claire asked me to do an arrangement of this song for this particular album, and it's normally a ballad, but we did it as a kind of samba on Claire's album, and it came out really nice. She sings it great, and you know, it was fun, a lot of fun.
Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone must change. Nothing stays the same. The young become the old. Mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life that we can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Winter turns to spring. The wounded heart will heal. Never much too soon. Everything must change. The young become the old. Mysteries do to unfold. 'Cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life that we can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Much too soon. Everything must change. The young become the old. Mysteries do unfold. 'Cause that's the way of time. That's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life that we can be sure of, except the rain comes from the clouds, the sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Except that the rain comes from the clouds, the sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Except rain comes from the clouds, the sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Everything must change.
Has your music changed with all the experience you've got?
Well, I hope so. I mean, you can never prescribe what's going to happen to you. I mean, I'm always looking ahead, you know. It's all about feeling, and that's what got me involved in music in the first place. It was the emotional connection before there was an intellectual one. Before I knew what was happening, I knew I loved this. I could feel it, you know, so that's always been my kind of initial connection with music, is if it feels great, then I want to figure out what's going on. We all want to be inspired, basically, you know, that's what fires up new ideas, and I'm very aware of that, so that's why I always pick these young whippersnappers when I've got a gig. I'm the token oldie.
Well, I hope one of these days you'll come and do a gig with me, Jim.
That would be nice, yeah.
And it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for the interview today.
My pleasure.
Fascinating stuff there from the lovely Jim Mullen. And don't forget to check out his latest album with the Jim Mullen organ trio, Make Believe. It's a great lesson. Next up, my arrangement of Gershwin's But Not For Me.
They're writing songs of love, but not for me. A lucky stars above, but not for me. With love to lead the way, I found more clouds of grey than any Russian play could guarantee. I was a fool to fall and get that way. Hi-ho, alas, and oh, so lack a day. Although I can't dismiss the memory of his kiss, I guess he's not for me. They're writing songs of love, but not for me. A lucky not for me.
That was me, Katriona Taylor, singing live in the heart of Soho, London. Now have a little listen to this next song. Who does the singer remind you of? I know who I've got in mind. This is a really funky number from the 70s, from the album Remember My Song.
They call me the vulture, yes, that's my name. I fly high around the town looking for game. And a girl who's lost a man, I'm by her side as fast as I can. Then I tell her things that she wants to hear. I'm an evil man. I'm the vulture. I say, now that it's over, what you gonna do? I'm so sad that you're on the road and your heart is a shade of blue. That man is gone and he's gone for good. He's gone and he's never coming back. And the love that you had, that was beautiful, but it's dead and that is a fact. Now if you're looking for consolation, you don't have to look no more. Then I'll fold my wings around the girl I've made it for sure. Or a smile, vultures in time. So you better beware, married or single, I just don't care. Oh, the vulture. Oh, the vulture.
Labby Sifri there, from the 1970s, sounding fantastic. But don't you think that sounds a little bit like JK from Jamiroquai? Labby Sifri, by the way, worked in a warehouse in Bethnal Green and then as a delivery man and a minicab driver before he went on to fame and fortune as a singer. Ah, the ups and downs of music, eh? To round off today's show, one of my favourite female vocalists. Here's Diane Reeves with her version of Afro Blue. Diane Reeves with Afro Blue.
I feel you watching my body. Well, I'm attracted to your baby. Come and dance, oh dance, dance with me. 'Cause my soul is free, my soul is free. Yeah, 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 yeah. My soul is free, yeah. Can you feel my heartbeat? Move a little closer. My soul is free, my soul is free, my soul is free, yeah, 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 it's free, yeah. My soul is free, my soul is free, my soul's free, yeah, 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 yeah. My soul is free, yeah. My soul is free, my soul is free, yeah, 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 yeah. My soul is free, yeah.
You've been listening to me, Katriona Taylor, on UK Jazz Radio. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.